my absolute favorite story, that's actually hard to say because one of my favorite stories, because now that as soon as I said it, I was like, wait a second, now you're going to be here for 4 hours telling stories because I've got a bunch of them. 2 of them are here, you know what I mean? They serve with 3 of them. My son is another story, you know, he grew up going to Equip. I think he was 16 the first time we had one. He's 26 now, and he's full servanthood, man. I couldn't do this if it weren't for him being here now. So that's 3 of them are even just here with me. But this one's probably the most shocking, I think. Maybe the most heart tugging. I'm a crybaby, so it tugged on my heartstrings pretty well. But there was a time about 7 or 8 years ago that, nostalgic wise, we were actually over here where we are this year, and we wanted to move across the pond over to what's called Junction. It's a different part of the camp. Well, we thought we were going to be able to keep our same beginning of June dates, which everybody was used to, and we had them. And then all of a sudden we get this phone call that says, man, we're going to have to bump those dates back about 2 weeks. And I was like, oh no. It was like panic mode. And it was our first time having to dedicate to 100 kids. Like whether 50 show up or 100 show up, we have to pay for 100. So it was a little nerve wracking. So leading up to the camp, it was a little nerve wracking. We get to camp, camp's going good. Everything's going good. We ended up hitting our 100 number. We had like 102 that year, which was just a God thing. But I think it was Wednesday night of the camp. So it was next to the last night. A young lady comes up to me and she hands me a note and she says, don't read this right now. I want you to maybe after everybody's gone to bed, maybe before you go to bed, you can read this or something. So I put it in my pocket. I'll be honest with you. I get those a lot. I've got one in my pocket right now that I was handed this morning that I've got to do something with. I get those notes periodically. And so I kind of forgot about it. I was sitting there winding down, sitting on a picnic table right here at this campground. And I opened up this note, and when I read it, it shocked and broke my world and broke me down. And here's what it says. Because part of it's like a pat on the back, you know what I mean? And those always feel good because you don't always get those, you know. Sometimes you don't see the fruit, you know, especially when you're in evangelism. And so getting that little pat on the back feels good. But then the other part of it about ripped my heart out. It says, Dave, I know that you've impacted many people's lives, but I wanted to let you know how you've impacted mine. A few weeks before Thanksgiving last year, I found out I was pregnant. I decided to handle this on my own way instead of turn to God, so I got an abortion. I felt so horrible after that I tried to commit suicide, but my mom found me and took me to the hospital. I have been struggling with depression ever since, and I've talked to my therapist about it, but that hasn't seemed to help. All of that aside, the real blessing and the main thing I wanted you to know is God's handiwork that I'm here this week. June 23rd was my due date, and I didn't realize that when I signed up to come here. I have felt so much joy this week, joy that I haven't felt in a long time. I really needed that at this time. If it wasn't at this camp, I probably would have tried to kill myself tomorrow just because it's so hard knowing that I killed a child that God made for me. I just wanted to let you know that me being at your camp and me listening to God this week has turned my life around, and I still have a lot of work, but this is a new beginning for me. And I realized at that time, man, like God moved that camp 2 weeks just to whew, for one person, man. I was worried about the 100, you know. God shifted that, stressed me out, shifted that 2 weeks so that she would be here on what was supposed to be the day that she was going to give birth. And she was going to kill herself on that day because I talked to her the next day. She had it all planned out where she was going to do it in such a way where her parents wouldn't find her because she never wanted that for her parents. She had everything planned out and was going to kill herself on her baby's due date. But she ended up here at Equip. And because of what's being taught here at Equip, the amount of love that they're shown here, that girl's like, I've experienced a joy I haven't experienced in a long time. But let me tell you the end of the story, though. Whew, the end of the story. Fast forward like 6 years or so, and I've stayed in touch with her on Facebook, you know. And all of a sudden I see this picture and she's standing outside of a university and she says, I'm graduating today with my nurse's degree, and I've already accepted a position at the OBGYN floor at this hospital. She's now a prenatal nurse, paying it forward with the same thing that was trying to destroy her. She's now doing that. And just to think back, 7 years ago, right here at this camp, that's, maybe it is my favorite story, because that outcome, it just shows you that, man, God's got a way bigger plan. We think this is just a week-long camp, and it's not, man. This is a camp that has results that just keep going and going and going. So that's one of my favorite stories. Whew.
Wow, you got through that.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when I saw her with that certificate, that graduate, I was like, "Are you?" But I read the thing where I was like, I just sat there in my office going, "God, you're funny." Whew.
That's awesome. You moved the whole thing just for her.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
For the one.
That's what I'm saying. Just for that one, moved it 2 weeks. Because it wouldn't have been, I don't think it would have had the same impact. If she had come 2 weeks earlier, she might have gone home and it would have struck her. And, but God was like, no, I'm going to make sure you're in a really safe place just on that day. And just they say devil's in the details. I'm like, no, he's not. He's too stupid. God's the one in the details, man.